Welcome to the Prophecy Club. We're going to be talking about the Kecksburg and Stephenville cover-ups. I've got Jim Wilhelmsen on the phone with me today. This guy has been researching all of this UFO stuff as it relates to Bible prophecy for some 20 years. Matter of fact, he even lived in Roswell for 4 years, and he has interviewed and prayed with and ministered to over 100 abductees. So you can't tell this guy UFOs aren't real or that they don't abduct people and they don't do some terrible things to them. And it all fits into Bible prophecy when you understand what the Bible is saying. So today we're going to find out about Kecksburg and Stephenville. Jim Wilhelmsen, welcome back to the Prophecy Club.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So, what is Kecksburg and Stephenville?
Kecksburg and Stevensville were the only two places on the earth that a bell-shaped UFO was ever seen. The only other time in history that a bell-shaped object was ever known or seen was in Nazi Germany in 1945 at the fall of the Reich. Leroy Gayton, officer at Erith County, mentioned about seeing two bell-shaped objects in like a force field or something encased around them, a reddish like glow. He saw two bell-shaped objects and encased in a kind of like a force field, a glowing red, he said, ball. This I wanted to hear because I knew exactly what it was, and I wanted to see if he really had to have it firsthand. And so I drew him a picture of the Nazi bell, and he said, yeah, that's exactly what I saw. And he says, and I got it on film if you want a copy. I thought, this is great. This is a smoking gun. This is what I need. And he said, but I gave it to Angela Joyner. She gave it to Linda Moulton Howe. And I looked at Leroy and I said, Leroy, please tell me you made a copy. He says, no. I said, you know what? You're never going to see that again. That was a smoking gun of what's going on, and I can't understand. I was a member of MUFON for 10 years, and these guys were down here. They never said anything about it. The UFO Hunters program was down here. They never said anything about it. Something fishy's going on here. Why is nobody mentioning the bell-shaped objects? The thing that made it peculiar with the Stevensville lights is during a 5-month period, starting from the northwest corner of Texas, going all the way diagonally, everybody was seeing just about every type of UFO that has ever been around, and including these strange wiggly lights. After interviewing many of the people, I saw that there was an entire scenario or series of events that was happening. First, there was the squiggly lights. Then people would see either two glowing orbs or they would see bell-shaped objects in the orbs. Then I saw our planes chasing after the orbs. And then shortly after, there were traditional bright saucer-shaped UFOs chasing, or black triangles chasing after the jets. Then a few days later, mile-wide motherships, filling the entire sky from horizon to horizon, were seen, but they were silently hovering over like they were scanning the area. So this was the whole unique thing. Now, the only other time that anything like an acorn bell-shaped object was ever seen was in 1965 in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania. Something crashed in the forest outside of the town of Kecksburg. Within a half an hour, the thing was tarped on a deuce and a half, taken to apparently to some military base. The entire town, whoever saw it or anything, was pretty much silenced and sworn to be under secrecy, and or intimidated to not say anything. But it was as if they already had a predetermined contingency plan to make the whole thing disappear. As I said, the only other time a bell-shaped object was ever seen or known of was the Die Glocke, which was a time travel project that the Nazis were working on at the end of the war. Now, it was already known that the head director, Dr. Hans Kammler, who was also not only in charge of all of Black Ops types of Nazi programs, including their atomic bomb program, but he was a hands-on engineer, and he was working directly with the Die Glocke program. And at the very end of the war, when the Allies were coming in, the Russians were coming in on Berlin, it was certain that this stuff was going to be captured. And so Hitler had put out an order to eliminate everybody, all the workers, all of the engineers, all the scientists, everything, and probably even including Hans Kammler. And he was overseeing the slaughter or the elimination of everybody working on it. And then it was known that Hans Kammler was planning on defecting to the United States. All of a sudden, he disappears off the face of history. Several of his associates disappeared, never to be found again. I had prayed about this, which I know sounds kind of strange, but I prayed about this and I got some answers. And then later on it was verified with some of the testimonies that I had. What actually happened was that Hans Kammler had escaped Nazi Germany in 1945. and reappeared in 2008 over Texas. Everybody and anybody that knew anything about this was looking for them, and that's why so many different UFOs were sighted, because they were different projects coming from different places. One from Base 211 in New Schwabenland, some from Area 51 in our own place, and of course our local Air Force had not any connections with any of this. They just did what they would do with any unidentified object, and that's scramble the jets and go and pursue. So it was really a time of chaos, a time of a lot of different people looking for a lot of different reasons for these two bell-shaped objects.
Well, now I know a little bit about this because I just happened to catch one of those things on TV. I don't know which channel, but they were trying, essentially the message they were saying is that in 1945, the Nazis were experimenting with anti-gravity flight, and they had this bell-shaped thing that they were trying to get to move at basically the speed of light. And all of a sudden, it now appears like outside of Kecksburg, and it had the same Nazi writings on it and everything. They believe that somehow this thing had traveled through time from 1945 and crashed in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania. That's essentially what the TV program said. What say ye?
Yes, I think that's exactly what happened.
Okay, so they do have something that can travel through time.
Yes, I believe so. I think there's a lot of evidence to indicate that. That's what we're going to be talking about on one of the speeches.
Okay, now what about the Stevensville incident? Essentially, there's just a lot of UFOs showing up there. So this was something on the order of like an Independence Day, when basically these UFOs are kind of coming out of the shadows and making themselves known. Was there some other message? I mean, what was going on? Why did they do this?
I think when they found the Kecksburg bell, whoever was inside knew or told them that Hans Kammler was in one of the other two. Hans Kammler would be the most premier individual to capture or have in possession. And if a last bastion of Nazis really existed in the Antarctic, they would not want anyone to get their hands on this guy. He had first-hand information on all the technology and the physics behind it.
All right, are you saying that when this bell-shaped device that was fired off in 1945 that landed, I forget the year, outside of Kecksburg, that there was a person inside? That they found a person inside?
Yes.
Wow, and it was this Hans guy?
They were escaping Nazi Germany. The Allies were coming in. The Russians were first. We actually pulled a trick on the Russians. We went and told them, look, we're going to hold back. You guys go ahead and go into Berlin and be the victors. And, of course, they ate that right up. They thought that was the greatest thing in the world. But it was a diversion, because what we did is we sent Patton and the rest of them over to Prague, where we knew this facility was. We thought we were looking for the atomic bomb program. When we got there, we found out they were working on a time travel program. I mean, it was just I'm sure they were amazed the things that they found, but they never found any bells. They disappeared.
Okay. All right, so let's go back to the footage. So the guy never did get the footage. You never saw the footage of whatever it was?
No, never found it, and I know all the reasons why, too. Well-known person had understanding of who within the Mutual UFO Network and some of the other UFO investigating places were actually operatives for our own government, and Linda Moulton Howell was supposed to apparently be on that list. She was the one that ended up with the tape. I had emailed her. She never answered me. My ministry partner emailed. She wrote back and she said, I don't know why you're getting all upset over just film with two little fuzzy dots. You can't see anything. She's known as the cattle mutilation expert. I was wondering, well, why was she had anything to do with this? Then I later found out that she had been working with Jim Mars, who was directly associated with all of this kind of research. It just kind of explained some things. Now, I know Jim. He was in my store. We had a 3.5-hour conversation. He was excited about seeing that I understood the Nazi connection to all of this.
Okay, let's go back to Stevensville. All right, so all of these UFOs, all of these orbs are showing up, and even crafts as large as from horizon to horizon. Why? What happened? Why were they doing that?
They were looking for Dr. Hans Kammler. He would have been the most prized catch for the Allies, for ourselves, because he could fill in a lot of gaps of what we've been trying to back engineer and taking 60 years to do that. There's a few key things that we don't understand or know how to do that apparently the Germans found out how to do it. The Germans know this, and so they're not going to want us to know any of this. Now,
Okay, so
When I
then
s-
that's coming back to why would aliens from another planet want to talk to some German to learn something? Obviously, they don't want to talk to him to learn something. That must be that it is Americans. Then, I mean, who is flying these horizon to horizon anti-gravity flying saucers that is looking for a German from 1945? Who is that?
Well, it's the next generation of Germans that are living in an underground base 211 in the Schwabenland, a cordoned off area of the Antarctic. And there's a lot of paper trail. There's a lot of evidence to indicate that that's exactly what happened.
Okay,
Most
say
of
that
the
again.
evidence is
Say that again, because
circumstantial.
I gotta hear that again. I gotta hear that again to let that soak in. Say that again.
Okay, I'm telling you, there was enough evidence, a lot of mysteries at the end of World War II that have never been solved that can only be explained by the fact that they actually went to the Antarctic. They colonized it. They have an underground base there. They've been there ever since. They're working there behind the scenes through the United Nations, and all the big monies, the secret societies, they're all on the same side. They're all working together. So when they got the call, or however they understood what was going on, because they were all knowing that someday Hans Kammler is going to show up in one of those spells. Now, for Hans Kammler, it was only a matter of minutes that he left Nazi Germany at the fall of the Reich, and then he's over the United States, just as he planned on doing, except that he did it 60 years later. Everybody was looking for him. We knew from the Kecksburg crash that to expect them somewhere, sometime, someplace.
Okay,
We
let me
knew-
play this back. Let me play this back. I mean, I got to wrap my head around this just a little bit. I mean, because this is just a little bit more advanced than what I have understood on this. Okay, so you're saying that in 1945, we'll be right back after this message. Come and go with the Prophecy Club to Israel. November 5 to 15, Leslie and I will take you on a biblical archaeology and a Bible prophecy tour. A tour like none other. What makes our tour different than the other tours? Well, we're going to take you to the traditional sites the other tours go on, but we're going beyond. We're going to show you the places and give you information other tours can't. In 1991, Leslie and I went on a tour with Ron Wyatt. He showed us archaeological secrets in Israel we're going to show to you, such as the iron spike that sealed the tomb of Jesus, proving Gordon's Calvary really is the tomb of Jesus. And you're going to pick up brimstone from the city of Gomorrah. You'll gather tar drips from the slime pits of Sodom. You'll visit the more likely birthplace of Jesus, not the one the tour buses stop at. In a special escort, you'll get to go behind the gates at the Garden of Gethsemane and pray. And if the drilling permit has been granted, we'll also go pray over the future drill sites for prophetic oil. Yes, you'll see many of the traditional sites, but this tour goes way beyond. Call 310-402-4042. That's 310-402-4042 for more information. Seating is limited. 310-402-4042. It's time for our summer blowout. You can get 20 DVDs for a gift of $160. That's only $8 each. 10 for a gift of $100. That's $10 each. 7 for a gift of $120. That's $17 each. 4 DVDs for a gift of $85. That's $21 each. Or 2 DVDs for a gift of $50. $25 each. But you got to call 785-266-1112. That's 785-266-1112. And the offer ends soon. And now, back to the program. This is just a little bit more advanced than what I have understood on this. Okay, so you're saying that in 1945, this guy, Hans guy, this German, wants to escape Germany, so he gets in this Bell thing that they were using to try to fly real fast, but actually it was a time machine, and he flew, and seconds later he landed in whatever the year was in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania in recent times, and shortly they showed up and hauled the device off and never even opened it. So we don't know what was inside, but you're saying a high likelihood it was this Hans guy. All right, then you're saying that UFOs, all kinds of them, including huge UFOs, horizon to horizon. I mean, Independence Day size UFOs shows up in Stevensville, Texas, and they're looking for this Hans guy. And it's really not, if I can say this and keep my mind straight here, this is really not aliens from another planet, aliens from another dimension. This is really Germans, former Nazis that escaped the World War II and moved to Antarctica into an underground secret base, and that's where they have all of these Am I getting this right? I mean, I've got to just say it to even get it, okay? Am I getting that right? Okay, all right. So now, of course, we probably have no to little proof of this. Is that correct? Or what proof can? I mean, you've said some big things here. So
right.
I assume when you talk, you're going. Let's just put it this way: when you talk, are you going to have sufficient proof or evidence or other things that connects this to where a reasonable person could come to the same conclusion?
Stan, if I didn't, I wouldn't be talking to you about it right now.
Okay,
yes,
so you're understanding that you're saying some really big things here. I mean, I've talked to Steve Quayle in his book. I read one of his books. He talks about Antarctica and underground. But I mean, a lot of the really in the know people talks about this. And I have never believed that it was truly Hitler that was supposedly burned and committed suicide. I think that he probably went on down to wherever it was. It certainly wasn't dying, burned in some grave in Germany. And if it is true that they can do successful human head transplants, then on the outside, it would be possible that Hitler is still alive today, someplace on the earth. Wow. Can I get my head around that? Is that too out there?
No, I'm gonna walk you through the end of World War II according to the Word of God, step by step. Everything that happened in World War II is in the Bible. We're not seeing it because I guess the most obvious is the least suspected. In my book, this seems to be the one most controversial thing. People say, well, Jim, I just love the way you connect all the dots, but boy, that Hitler stuff, I just don't know about that. Well, I do, because I believe God's word. And I'm going to show everybody, I'm going to walk you scripture by scripture, event by event, that all these things in the end of World War II are mentioned in the Bible. They're prophesied. That there are scriptures that accurately describe the end of World War II. I don't know. I can't tell you why people can't see this or don't want to see it, because I think they invested so much preconceived ideas on how they think prophecy should be fulfilled that they're missing the fact that a lot of it has already been fulfilled. We're almost like, for me anyway, it's almost like the Jews, the Pharisees, are telling Jesus, we know when Messiah comes, he's going to do this, this, and this. And we've done the same thing that Jews have. We've been so dogmatic about our preconceived ideas of what's going to happen in the future that we fail to see that some of it has already happened in our past, and we're still waiting for these events to happen, and they've already happened.
Okay, let me jump into another question. Why is it that there's so much evidence that these anti-flying devices, UFOs, are out there that are abducting people? Why is it that there's so much evidence, yet it all seems to be covered up? Why the cover-up? Why the cover-up?
Well, the cover-up, at least by our government, is because we know pretty much where the source of most of this came from. Now, I think that there's different levels of understanding within our country. And this, I have firsthand experience from doing shows for 20 years. When I did a show nearby Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, a psychiatrist come up to me, told me a very interesting story that I think a major in the Air Force as a psychiatrist, and he had security come before him. He was sworn under national security not to say anything because the two people who were coming to him had a pretty incredible story, but we need you to help them because their job is being affected by what they accidentally saw. The story goes that these two individuals were Baptist Christians. They were working on back engineering some technology. The way they do this is they compartmentalize everything. One area doesn't know what the other area is doing or what the big picture is. That's the Nazi way they did things, and that's the way we do things today here in this country. So they were in a complex back engineering some alien technology, so they understood it. And they saw a gray alien with our military personnel, and it freaked them out. They didn't know what to do or where to go, or they had no information or anything. So when the psychiatrist was working with him, he's an atheist, he had nothing to offer them. He didn't know what to do or really how to help them reconcile their faith with what they had seen. So when I was doing the show, he come up to me, and the first thing he said was, look, I'm an atheist, I don't want to be preached to. I started chuckling, and I said, well, what do you want from me? He says, well, I've never seen anybody have biblical presentations of this stuff before. I want one of everything you got, And then he told me the whole story about the two guys. So here's a good guy that just wants to help out two people that he wasn't able to help out before, but now being that I had biblical information, he thought that was something that might help these guys out. This is so typical of what's going on within our military. There's different levels. These guys didn't know, who they were dealing with or what this little gray guy was, and they didn't have anything to reference to it. This is happening in some of our major military establishments all over the place. Even the higher up officers, they believe that they're working with alien technology. The higher ups that have been around a long time, they know that most of this stuff is coming from the Nazis, but they believe and have been convinced by history that the Nazis got their technology from aliens. From a biblical lens, we would understand that as no, they're not aliens, they're fallen angels. And gee, guess what? It's been prophesied that there would be an alliance of humans and non-humans together at the end times. This is a scenario of what we're at. So there's different levels of understanding that our government officials have. Most of them are clueless because the Nazi way of doing everything was compartmentalize everything. So nobody had the big picture. Nobody really knew what was going on except for the higher elite. At the end of the war, we brought over the second highest Nazi officer for the Eastern Division, SS General Reinhard Gehlen, and we brought him and about 200 of his boys over here, and they helped restructure the OSS into the CIA. At the same time, when Werner von Braun came over here to head the rocket and NASA program, he was in charge of what was called industrial security. So, being closely related to the whole NASA program, he was also in charge of the security to make sure everything Nazi way was kept secret and quiet. The Industrial Security Agency later turned into the National Security Agency, NSA. Our two biggest security agencies were actually restructured and founded by ex-Nazi officers. We have literally taken the infrastructure of Nazi Germany into ourselves, and just as Joshua and Caleb were warned not to take the spoils of war into yourselves, it would change you from within. We should have taken heed to that because that's exactly what is undone on the highest levels in America, our undoing. That's what has caused us to be where we're at today. We took the very infrastructure of Nazi Germany into ourselves, and that can be found in Daniel 11th chapter. I think it's the 43rd verse.
I think you're right.
Walk
yes.
you through all of this.
Yes. Okay, so you're saying that this Hans guy, this German expert in time travel, did his own time machine and he jumped from 1945 to 1965, crashed outside of Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, in a bell-shaped object, which was quickly loaded up and carted off. And then you're saying that all of these UFOs showed up in Stevensville, Texas, and including one from horizon to horizon, I mean, like an Independence Day style giant anti-gravity flying UFO. And this was actually Hans moving from 1945 to 1965, and Stevensville was people from, probably Nazis, from the Antarctic base that are there trying to find him in Stevensville. Now, here's my question. Yes, I know when I say why, you're going to say for the information, but I'm going to say, why do they want the information? At the end of the road, way down the block, where are they going with all of this?
The Nazis actually put off their atomic bomb plans in development because when they realized that they could use time as a weapon, think about it. You could be everywhere, anywhere, anytime, any place. You would make yourself think that you're all present, all powerful, and all knowing, just like God. So that you can, if you didn't do something right, you can go back in the past and readjust and make a reset. I mean, so their mind would be. I'm going to show you how that can't happen. But in their minds, it's uncharted territory. Gosh, we'll go back and the Reich will make sure that we'll win. That's even in a movie. You want to know the proof of time travel? Why does the Yesterday Machine movie, made in 1963, read out in detail everything that I just told you? Where a newspaper reporter is going out to find out why a young man was shot with a Confederate musket ball, and they found a hat that shouldn't even exist because the company had burned down to where that hat shouldn't be there. So he's going around in Stevensville, Texas, looking to find answers. He goes to meet a police chief. And the police chief tells him, he says, boy, that's kind of strange. And it reminds me of the end of the war. The Nazis were working on time travel. He says, I'm not saying that's what it is, but the story continues. There's an underground complex, an escaped Nazi working on time travel is there in Stevensville, Texas.
Amen. All right, now I just looked up on the Internet Movie Database a movie I saw a while back called Edge of Tomorrow. It stars Tom Cruise. I'm reading what it says is the movie. It says a military officer is brought into an alien war against an extraterrestrial enemy. Now listen to this, who can reset the day. In other words, basically they can back up and redo the day, can reset
Right.
the day and know the future when this officer is enabled with the same power he teams up with blah, blah, blah. Okay, it goes into the movie. But here's the point. Lindsey Williams says the elite told him that if they do something and they don't inform the stupid public, sorry, but that's essentially what they're calling us, the stupid
Right.
public, what they're going to do, they consider it to be ungentlemanly. And they want to be considered good sports. So they tell us, but the way they tell us is mostly through like TV programs, and movies. So what this movie is saying is, yes, they do have time travel. Yes, they can reset the day. They can back up or they can go forward. Now, of course, if you listen to Al Balick, he will tell you that they've had time travel for years and they can go not only forward and backwards, but also they can move themselves to any place on the planet, any place, any time they want. Now, maybe that's a program for the next day as we're about out of time. Matter of fact, let me just say, Jim, I'm so excited to have you come, and I just want to say, all of you guys out there, you're going to make a big mistake if you don't hear these 4 talks by Jim Wilhelmsen. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers, and thank you for those regular monthly donations. God bless.
In many different ways, the enemy is working overtime to destroy your family, job, and America. Your faithful monthly gifts help the Prophecy Club to continue and overcome evil with the truth. Help us take the warning to America. Engage in the battle to win lost souls to Christ by supporting this ministry today.
Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. The June speaker at the Prophecy Club is Jim Wilhelmsen. He's going to be speaking on America's Destiny, Tribe of Dan, and the Three Frogs. Topics will be understanding the biblical terms for America, a kingdom removed, a scepter change, the Tribe of Dan in America, all about the three frogs of Revelation 16, a history showing America is Babylon, how UFOs relate to a cosmic Christ, Thursday, June 4th, 7 to 10:30 p.m. The next one is the clouds of heaven and UFO abductions. Topics are, what did Ezekiel see? The Book of Enoch, interesting physics. UFOs, Satan's plan to replace Christ with the Antichrist. The history of Nazi UFOs and why they lost the war with this amazing high technology. The Nazi trail after the war's end. Where did the UFOs go? Antarctica? The alien vehicles, message, occupants, and abduction experiments are the same as former Nazi agenda. The reasons for abductions. Friday, June 5th, 7 to 10:30 p.m. The next talk is Biblical Time Travel, a new meaning to the end times. Topics are time travel is possible. Threats that can only be explained with time travel. Heaven is outside of time. What is time? Time travel found in the Bible. 2 lies of Eden, a counterfeit eternal realm. Ancient knowledge from the past and the Tower of Babel. Daniel 8 and the Nazi time travel technology. The real history fulfills Bible prophecy. God's control, measure, and how time is a weapon. The Kecksburg and Stephenville cover-up. Saturday, June 6, 3 to 6 p.m. Does the Bible say the earth has hollow places? Can this be compatible with modern plate technology and science? Lazarus and the rich man. Where was Cain sent? Where is paradise and Eden related to Abraham's bosom? Where did Jesus go after his death? Where do demons live and how did they get there? How does CERN, the Devil's Triangle, and the Dragon Sea relate? How does the Nazi expedition and claim of an alliance with, quote, pure Aryans play into this? Does the Bible say the earth has hollow places? That's Saturday, June 6, 7 to 10:30. So that is 4 meetings, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, June 4, 5, and 6. A gift of $10 at the door for each meeting, but the best deal is take advantage of our summer blowout. Single DVD gift of $30, 2 gift of $50, 4 gift of $85, that's $21 each, 7 gift of $120, that's $17 each, 10 gift of $100, that's $10 each, 20 DVDs gift of $160, that's only $8 each. But you gotta call 785-266-1112. Offer expires soon. That's 785-266-1112 for the summer blowout gift offer. All meetings are at the Prophecy Club, Spirit of Prophecy Church, 2540 K Avenue in Plano, right behind the Whataburger. That's 2540 K Avenue in Plano, right behind the Whataburger, on the corner of Park and K, like the margarine. And I'll look for you at the meetings.